And we pick up the story of the day today for Year 3 to Year 6 with Grandpa's Great Escape by David Walliams, and we were at part 2, and this is a matter of life and death, and it's chapter 30, Twilight Towers. That night, Grandpa was taken away to Twilight Towers. It was a condition of the police dropping their charges against the old man that he was sent there. Needless to say, Jack had a sleepless night. All he could think about was his grandpa. So, as soon as the school had finished the next day, Jack raced over to Twilight Towers on his trike. The boy pedalled as fast as he could, desperate to see his grandfather, and desperate that none of the children from school see him on his toddler's trike. Jack was saving up for a chopper, which looked more like a motorcycle than a bicycle, but he'd only had enough for one of the pedals. Twilight Towers was some distance from the centre of town. As the rows of little houses ended, so the moors began. Atop a hill sat an old building, surrounded by a high wall with tall gates at the front. It looked more like a prison than an old people's home. Disneyland it was not. Jack trundled along the dirt track on his trike. He stopped as he reached the gates. These were made of thick metal with spikes on top. 2 ornate metal T's for Twilight Towers had been welded onto them, and there was a sign outside that said, "Twilight Towers, caring for your unwanted old folk." The place had only opened recently. The town's previous home, Sunshine Palace, had been demolished and by an unexplained runaway bulldozer incident. Twilight Towers was in fact a converted Victorian lunatic asylum. It was a tall brick building dotted with tiny windows. All the windows had bars on them. It may have been called an old folks' home, but in truth, the building had such a sense of foreboding that it could never be a home to anyone. The building had 4 floors, and a tall bell tower stood out on the roof. 2 more recently built observation towers stood at either ends of the grounds. On the top of both were huge searchlights manned by big, burly nurses. Whether all this security was to keep people in or out remained to be seen. Jack reached out to rattle on the gates to see if they were unlocked. Zap! The boy felt a bolt of electricity flash through his body. Ah! It was as if he'd been turned upside down and inside out and back to front all at once. As fast as he could, he took his hands off his gates and breathed deeply. The pain had been so intense, the boy felt like he was going to be sick. "Who goes there?" came a deep voice through the megaphone. Blinking back tears of pain, Jack looked up to see a nurse calling down from an observation tower. "Jack! Jack who?" The loudhailer made the nurse sound more like a robot. "Jack Bunting, I've come to visit my grandfather." "Visiting is Sundays only. Come back then." "But I've cycled all this way." Jack couldn't believe he was being refused entry. All he wanted to do was see his grandpa for a short while. "Any visitors wanting to come to Twilight Towers on any other day must have permission from the matron." "I have," lied the boy. "Yes, I saw Miss Swine last night and she told me I could pop round this afternoon." "Come through the gates and report to reception." Buzz. The gates opened automatically and the boy slowly pedalled inside. The gravel path was difficult to ride on, especially with a trike made for a toddler. Eventually, Jack made it to the huge wooden door. As the boy rang the bell, he realised his hands were shaking. Click, clack, click, click, click. There must have been 10 different locks on the door, it took so long to open it. Clack, click, click, clack, click, click. Finally, a big burly nurse opened the door. She had thick hairy legs, a gold tooth and a tattoo of a skull on her arm. Despite this, she sported a badge that said Nurse Daisy. "What?" said the lady in a deep voice. There was not a person on earth less suited to the name Daisy. "Oh, hello," said Jack politely. "I wonder if you could help me." "What do you want?" demanded the nurse. "I'm here to visit my grandfather, Arthur Bunting. He arrived last night." "We're closed to visitors today." "I know, but I met the lovely Miss Swine of this place last night, and I just wondered if I could have a quick word with her." "Wait there," said the nurse, and she slammed the heavy oak door on him. "Matron," he heard her shout. This was followed by such a long wait that the boy all but gave up hope of anyone coming back. Eventually, he heard heavy footsteps echo along the corridor, and the door swung open to a truly terrifying sight. And tomorrow we'll pick up at chapter 31, The World's Ugliest Nurses.